The grand chapel on the Harrington family estate in Greenwich, Connecticut was filled with the scent of lilies and the soft sobs of mourners as Victoria Harrington's funeral service drew to a close. But the solemn atmosphere shattered when Sandra Harrington grabbed the microphone from the podium, her identical twin Naya standing right beside her, their hands clasped tightly. "We cannot let Grandma Victoria go without speaking our truth," Sandra said, her voice breaking the heavy silence. "Naya and I have been in love for years. Not as sisters but as partners. We are a lesbian couple, and we are choosing to live openly now more than ever." The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. The packed room of wealthy relatives, business associates and socialites froze in disbelief. Elena Harrington, the twins' mother, collapsed into her seat, her face white as the casket, her hands clutching a handkerchief. "My God, what have you done?" she gasped. Victor Harrington, the family patriarch, shot up from his front row seat, his face contorted in rage. "You dare to do this here at your grandmother's funeral? This is desecration. You two are sick, and you will not drag this family into your perversion." Naya stepped forward, her eyes flashing with defiance but her heart pounding with the weight of the moment. "It is not perversion, Father. It is love, the kind Grandma always encouraged us to find. We hid it for so long out of fear of this exact reaction, but we are done hiding. Grandma deserved to know the real us, and now so do all of you." Chaos erupted immediately. Whispers turned to shouts as cousins and aunts exchanged horrified looks. One cousin, a successful lawyer named Claire, stood up. "This is going to destroy the company stock. The Harrington name will be synonymous with scandal." The pastor tried to regain control, but the damage was done. Security had to escort the twins out as Victor bellowed, "You are no longer my daughters, get out of my sight." As they were ushered to a waiting car, Sandra felt a wave of guilt crash over her. She had always been the one who cared deeply about family harmony, the one who would sacrifice her own happiness to keep peace. In the back seat of the black SUV, she turned to Naya, tears streaming down her face. "What have we done? We just destroyed everything at Grandma's funeral. Maybe we should have waited or never said anything." Naya pulled her close, her own eyes moist but her voice strong. "We did what we had to, Sandra. Grandma would have wanted this. Remember how she always said life is too short for lies? We paid the price of silence for years. Now it is time to pay the price of truth." The drive back to the main house was tense, with paparazzi already gathering at the gates, tipped off by someone in the crowd. The twins retreated to their shared childhood suite, the one they had shared since birth. There, in the privacy of the room, they sat on the bed holding each other as memories flooded back. Their bond had always been unusually close as identical twins, sharing everything from clothes to thoughts. But in college at Yale it had shifted. Late-night talks turned into lingering touches, and one rainy night in their dorm they kissed for the first time, admitting the feelings they had denied. It was terrifying and beautiful all at once. They vowed to keep it secret to protect the family empire and their parents' expectations. But the guilt ate at them daily. Now, with the public confession, the weight lifted, but a new, heavier burden of consequences settled in. That night the family gathered in the grand living room for a private meeting. Victor paced like a caged lion. "You two have ruined us. The board will call an emergency meeting. Clients will pull out. And all because you could not keep your deviant behavior to yourselves." Elena cried softly in the corner, "I raised you better than this. What will people say at the club? Our friends will abandon us." The twins sat side by side, facing the onslaught. Sandra wanted to apologize, to take it back, to make it right for her mother, who had always been her rock. But Naya held her ground. "We are not deviants. We are your daughters, and we deserve to be happy. If the family cannot accept us, then perhaps the empire is not worth the lies." The argument lasted hours, with accusations flying. Victor threatened to disinherit them immediately. Aunts and uncles who had arrived for the funeral sided with him, citing family values and tradition. By the end of the night, the twins were exhausted, emotionally drained. As they lay in bed together that night, Sandra whispered, "I love you, Naya, but is this worth losing everything?" Naya kissed her forehead. "Yes, because without our truth we have nothing." The next days brought more pain. The story leaked to the tabloids: Harrington twins, scandal, forbidden love at Grandma's funeral. Headlines screamed about the wealthy family torn apart by incestuous lesbian affair. Phone calls from business partners came in, canceling deals. Old friends stopped responding to texts. Sandra spent hours staring at the ceiling, questioning every choice. She had a promising career in the family marketing department, now in jeopardy. Naya, the head of development, was facing similar isolation. Yet in their quiet moments they found solace in each other, reaffirming their decision despite the cost. Elena came to their room the following afternoon, her eyes red from crying. "Please think of your father. He built this empire for you girls. Can't it say it was a moment of grief? We can get you help, therapists the best in the country." Sandra felt her resolve crack. "Mom, we cannot lie anymore. It would kill us inside." But seeing her mother's pain, she wondered if their happiness was selfish. Naya stood firm. "We have already lost so much, Mom. Do not ask us to lose ourselves too." Victor avoided them entirely, sending messages through lawyers about freezing their accounts. Cousins called to berate them. Claire in particular left a voicemail. "You selfish brats. My inheritance is tied to this mess." The family empire was crumbling under the weight of public scrutiny, and the twins felt every crack. Yet as the week progressed, the price became clearer. Invitations to galas vanished. Board members demanded meetings. The twins had made their choice, and now they were paying with their legacy, their relationships, and their peace of mind. Still in each other's arms, they whispered promises to face whatever came next together. The days after the funeral blurred into a nightmare of isolation and confrontation. Sandra woke each morning with a knot in her stomach, replaying the chapel moment when she had spoken their truth. She had always been the twin who weighed every decision carefully, the one who remembered birthdays and smoothed over family arguments. Now she sat in the sunroom of the estate, staring at the rolling lawns that had been their playground as children, wondering if their love had poisoned it all. Naya joined her with coffee in hand, her face set in the determined line that had always steadied them both. "We cannot undo it, Sandra. And we should not want to. Grandma raised us to be strong. Remember her stories about fighting for what matters." Flashbacks haunted them both. As teenagers they had been inseparable, finishing each other's sentences, dressing alike, even dating the same boys briefly to fit in. But at Yale the closeness evolved. One evening after a brutal exam week, they had talked until dawn about dreams and fears, and suddenly the air changed. The kiss that followed felt like coming home, not like something forbidden. They spent months in secret joy mixed with terror. Late nights in hidden corners of campus, stolen weekends in the city where no one knew them. They promised each other that when the time was right they would tell the family. Grandma's declining health had pushed them to act at the funeral. It felt like the last chance to be honest with the woman who had shaped them. The family pressure intensified that afternoon when Victor summoned them to his study. He sat behind the massive oak desk, the symbol of his power, his eyes cold. "I have spoken with the board. They want you both out until this blows over. Your trust funds are frozen effective immediately. If you want backing, you will issue a public statement calling this a grief-induced mistake and seek professional help." Elena stood beside him, her hands twisting a silk scarf. "Girls, please. Think of the company. Think of us. We have given you everything." Sandra felt tears burn her eyes. "Dad, Mom, this is not a mistake. It is who we are." But the words felt hollow as she saw the pain in her mother's face. The price of their honesty was her parents' heartbreak, and it cut deeper than any financial loss. Naya refused to yield. "We are 28 years old. We have degrees from Yale. We have worked hard in the company. You cannot erase us because our love does not fit your image." Victor slammed his fist on the desk. "Love, this is not love. It is a disgrace to the Harrington name. Get out of my house until you come to your senses." The twins packed a few bags and drove to a small hotel in town, the first time they had been truly on their own without the family safety net. In the quiet room, Naya held Sandra as she cried. "I feel like I betrayed them. Maybe we should have stayed silent." Naya stroked her hair. "Silence almost killed us inside. Remember how we used to lie awake wondering if we were broken? We are not broken. We are real." But even as she spoke, Naya felt the doubt creep in. The tabloids had printed photos from the funeral with headlines that made their love sound monstrous. Old classmates texted to ask if it was true, then ghosted when confirmed. The societal judgment was relentless, a constant reminder that their choice had a steep cost in reputation and belonging. Claire, the cousin, showed up at the hotel unannounced that evening, her face flushed with anger. "You two have no idea what you have done. My husband lost a major contract because of the scandal. The entire family is picking sides and most are against you." She pulled out her phone, showing social media posts calling them freaks and worse. Sandra reached for her hand, instinctively seeking family connection, but Claire pulled away. "Do not touch me. Fix this or stay away." As Claire left, the twins sat in silence, the betrayal stinging fresh. Naya paced the room. She used to be our ally. Now she sees us as threats to her lifestyle. Sandra nodded, the guilt weighing heavier. We have lost more than money. We have lost people who claim to love us. Yet in that moment they reaffirmed their bond with a quiet promise. No matter the price, we face this together. The week continued with more blows. Business associates canceled meetings. Their personal emails filled with hate messages from strangers who had read the stories. Sandra spent hours journaling, trying to process the internal storm. She questioned if their love was truly worth the destruction. Naya, on the other hand, channeled the pain into research on legal options for their positions in the company. The rhythm of their days became a tense balance of love and doubt, action and reflection. They had made the decision to come out, and now every hour brought new evidence of the price. Family dinners they would never attend again. Holidays shadowed by absence. The empire they had been groomed to inherit slipping away. Yet when night fell and they lay together, the connection that had always felt right anchored them. The conflict inside each of them grew, but so did their resolve to see it through. The pressure built like a storm over the Connecticut estate, as the twins returned for a forced family meeting called by Victor. Sandra and Naya arrived together, their hands brushing in silent support as they entered the boardroom where relatives had gathered like judges in a trial. Victor stood at the head of the table, his voice booming. This charade ends now. You will sign documents stepping down from all roles and issue a retraction. The company cannot survive the publicity. Elena sat beside him, her eyes pleading silently with her daughters. Sandra felt the familiar pull of wanting to please them, the desire to fix what she had broken. But Naya spoke first, her tone steady. We will not retract. This is our life and we have paid enough in hiding. The room exploded in arguments. Uncles accused them of greed, cousins like Claire demanded they think of the shared inheritance. One relative, a distant aunt who had always been kind, pulled Sandra aside later. I saw the way you two looked at each other growing up. I suspected but never imagined this. You are tearing the family apart. The words landed like blows. Sandra retreated to the garden where she and Naya had played as children, now feeling like strangers in their own home. She sat on the bench replaying decisions. Had coming out been selfish? Had they considered how Victor would react, the man who had worked 80-hour weeks to build the empire, or how Elena would lose her social circle, the one thing that gave her purpose? The moral weight pressed down. Naya found her there and they talked for hours, weighing the right and wrong. Naya argued that authenticity was the only path forward. Sandra countered with the visible pain they had caused. The debate left them exhausted but closer, the price of their choice measured in every tear and raised voice. The betrayal escalated when Claire leaked a private family photo to the tabloids showing the twins holding hands at the funeral. The new headline, Harrington Twins Incest Scandal Deepens, Family Turns on Each Other. Calls flooded in from reporters. Business partners issued statements distancing themselves. The twins lost two key accounts Naya had nurtured for years. Sandra watched her sister make the painful calls to clients explaining the situation, only to hear doors close. In their hotel room that night, Naya broke down for the first time. I thought I was strong enough, but seeing the company we helped build suffer because of us, it hurts. Sandra held her, the roles reversed. We made the decision together. We knew there would be fallout. But the internal conflict raged. Was their love worth the professional ruin, the public humiliation? Family members began choosing sides openly. Some aunts sent messages of quiet support, but most aligned with Victor, threatening legal action to remove the twins from any inheritance claims. The twins faced a major argument in the hotel. Sandra suggested they pause their relationship publicly to ease the pressure. Naya refused, her eyes fierce. That would be another lie. We have already paid too much to go back. The fight ended in tears but also in renewed commitment. They decided to stand firm no matter the cost. The societal prejudice was everywhere, from online comments to cold stares in town. Each day brought new evidence of the price. Friends lost, opportunities vanished. Yet the bond between them remained the one constant in the storm. They had chosen truth and now they lived its consequences every hour. The morning of the will reading dawned gray and cold, fitting the mood as the family gathered in the lawyer's oak-paneled office in downtown Greenwich. Sandra and Naya sat side by side across from Victor and Elena, their faces masks of exhaustion. The lawyer, Mr. Thompson, cleared his throat and began reading Victoria Harrington's last will and testament. The bulk of the estate, including controlling shares in Harrington Enterprises, Goes jointly to my granddaughters Sandra and Nia Harrington. Gasps filled the room. Victor slammed his hand on the table. This is impossible. She would never do that. Then the lawyer played a video message from Victoria, her frail but clear voice filling the room. My dears, I have known about your love for each other for over a year. I saw the way you looked at one another during my last visit. It reminded me of my own hidden truth. For 30 years I shared my life with my dear Margaret, my partner in every way. We built parts of this empire together in secret because the world was not ready. I hid my happiness so you would not have to. Live openly, my girls. The fortune is yours to protect with honesty. The room erupted. Victor turned purple with rage. She was senile. This cannot stand. Elena covered her mouth, tears flowing. All these years she had a secret too. Claire shouted about contesting the will, calling it undue influence. The lawyer continued unfazed. There is more. Attached is evidence of financial misconduct by Victor Harrington, including unauthorized transfers totaling millions. Should the will be contested, this evidence will be turned over to authorities. The flip was complete. The family that had united against the twins now turned on Victor. Uncles accused him of betrayal. Aunts demanded explanations. The power shifted in an instant, the twins suddenly at the center of the empire while the patriarch faced ruin. Sandra felt dizzy with the revelation. Grandma had known and approved. The secret she carried had been her own hidden love, making their choice feel validated. Yet the chaos it unleashed was overwhelming. Nia gripped her hand tightly, her mind racing with the implications. We have the control now, but at what cost? The family we knew is gone. The reading dissolved into shouting matches. Victor stormed out threatening lawsuits. Relatives who had condemned the twins now begged them for support against Victor. The betrayal cut both ways. The twins left the office in a daze, the weight of sudden responsibility heavy on their shoulders. Outside, the media swarm had grown. Cameras flashed as they exited. Questions flew about the will, the secret, the love. The twins drove away in silence, processing the new reality. Their coming out had triggered the revelation that shattered the family power structure. Sandra wrestled with guilt. Had their honesty caused Grandma's secret to surface, destroying her parents' marriage in the process? Nia saw it as justice. Grandma wanted us to have this chance. We cannot waste it. But the moral dilemma lingered. They had gained the empire but lost the family unity. That night in their new temporary apartment, they discussed the decisions ahead. Use the fortune to build something authentic or fight to keep the old empire intact? The price of their choice had just multiplied, and they knew more battles lay ahead. The weeks following the will reading turned the Harrington family into a battlefield of lawsuits and whispered alliances. Sandra and Nia moved into a modest house on the estate outskirts, away from the main mansion where Victor and Elena still lived in tense silence. Daily they received updates from lawyers about contests to the will. Claire led the charge, filing papers claiming Victoria had been manipulated. Other relatives switched sides daily, some offering support in exchange for shares, others leaking more stories to the press. The twins faced constant moral choices. Sandra wanted to compromise, give some assets to calm the storm. Nia insisted on holding firm to honor Grandma's wishes. Their arguments grew heated one evening. You are willing to sacrifice our truth again, Sandra said. Nia replied, I am protecting what Grandma gave us. The tension highlighted the price they paid in their own relationship, strained by external forces. The public backlash intensified. Protesters appeared at company headquarters. Business partners demanded meetings to renegotiate terms, citing reputational risk. The twins attended one such meeting where a longtime investor looked them in the eye and said, your personal lives are your business, but the scandal is costing us millions. Sandra felt the sting of judgment, the implication that their love made them unfit leaders. She spent the drive home questioning if they should step back, let others run the company. Nia refused. We earned our places. Grandma's secret was her courage. Ours is too. The internal conflicts deepened. Sandra journaled late into nights, weighing right and wrong. Was their openness selfish when it hurt so many? Nia threw herself into work restructuring departments to reflect inclusivity, but faced resistance from loyalists to Victor. A major betrayal came when Elena confronted them privately. She revealed Victor had hidden more debts and begged the twins to help him avoid prosecution in exchange for reconciliation. Sandra was tempted the chance to heal the family wound. Nia saw it as manipulation. The decision tore at them. They chose to provide limited support but not cover crimes, the price being further estrangement from their mother. Family members turned on each other, uncles exposing Victor's affairs, cousins fighting over smaller bequests. The empire fractured into factions, all tracing back to the twins' public confession. The psychological toll showed in sleepless nights and tearful conversations. They had awakened to their truth, but the awakening had cost them peace, stability, and blood ties. Through it all their bond endured. Quiet evenings walking the estate grounds, they shared fears and hopes. Sandra admitted the guilt might never leave. Naya promised they would build a new legacy. The choices they made daily carried heavy prices, lost allies, damaged reputations, but also moments of clarity. They donated to LGBT causes in Grandma's name, a small act of defiance that brought both joy and more backlash. The drama peaked in a family mediation session where accusations flew. Victor called them destroyers. The twins stood together, refusing to yield. The cost was clear, but so was their growth. They had faced the worst and chosen love anyway. The final confrontation unfolded in the estate boardroom months after the will reading, a last attempt at mediation before court. Victor sat across from the twins, his face lined with defeat. Elena hovered nearby, torn between loyalties. Lawyers and relatives filled the seats, the air thick with resentment. Sandra spoke first, her voice calm despite the pounding heart. "We never wanted to destroy anything. We wanted to live honestly like Grandma did in her own way." Naya added, "We will honor the will, but we offer fair shares to those who accept us." The room erupted in arguments, some relatives softening, others digging in. Claire stormed out, vowing to fight on. In the end, several family members walked away with settlements, but the core empire remained with the twins. Victor agreed to step down to avoid charges, the price of his own secrets. As the meeting ended, Sandra and Naya stepped outside into the crisp autumn air, the estate they had fought for now feeling both familiar and foreign. They had paid dearly in family bonds, public image, and personal peace. Sandra had lost the easy relationship with her mother, Naya the respect of longtime mentors. Yet they had gained something priceless, authenticity and a deeper connection forged in fire. They walked to the overlook where they had played as children, now standing as women who had chosen their path. In a quiet embrace they watched the sun set, the weight lifting slightly. The journey had broken the old family but built a new foundation for them. In the months that followed they restructured the company, adding inclusive policies, and using profits to support causes close to Grandma's hidden life. The media storm faded into occasional mentions, but the internal scars remained. They faced ongoing prejudice but met it with resilience. Their love, stronger for the trials, became the anchor. Friends who stayed proved true, new ones emerged from unexpected places. The price had been high, but the reward was a life without hiding. Did Sandra and Naya make the right choice by confessing their forbidden love openly and accepting the family destruction that followed, or should they have kept their secret buried to preserve the legacy and relationships they once knew?